This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
It is Friday, which means it is time to talk the English Premier League. Not the most robust slate for this weekend, but still some pretty fun matches on tap. To break those down, we'll have Austan Kas on to break down his thoughts on Saturday slate and also get you set for Tottenham versus Chelsea coming up on Sunday. This is Covering the Spread right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network and numberFire.com. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com. Joined here, as mentioned, by Austan Kas. You can find his work over at numberFire.com. Check out Austan on Twitter at Austan Kas. Austan, welcome back in today. How you doing?
Doing pretty well. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. There are spring training games for today, so pretty jazzed about that. Had to break out the Twins hat for that, trying to console myself after Northwestern blew a big lead against that other Illinois college last night. So, we're just trying to recoup. Apparently, they're not allowed to beat Illinois teams, but they're allowed to beat all Indiana teams. Apologies. Yeah. I don't know. Is this a bad way to start off the show here? Did you come to us from Indiana?
Yeah, maybe.
We're not bitter. Not bitter at all. There were a lot of bad tweets about the Northwestern Indiana game a couple weeks ago. So we'll let Twitter handle that. We'll talk here about the EPL for today. We're going to break down Austin's thoughts on how to alter things when there are midweek matches, if you should alter things. We'll talk a little about the top of the table once again, Man City, how they're setting up right now, and then get you set for this weekend. I'll finish up by talking about some more NASCAR stuff later on after FanDuel added top 10 bets for last night. All that coming up here in just 1 second. But first, a reminder to make sure you're subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcast. Ed Feng is back with us next week. Brandon Gadula back with us next week as well. We have NBA, PGA, NHL, EPL, NASCAR, college basketball, all covered in this same space. So go to the Covering the Spread podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts, hit subscribe. And if you like what you hear, leave us a rating and review as well. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is safe, secure, and super easy to use. You can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and three strained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss a chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets. Make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. In Arizona, 100-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In Connecticut, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. In Wyoming and Kansas, 1-800-522-4700. In Kansas, ksgamblinghelp.com. Louisiana is 1-877-770-STOP. In Maryland, mdgamblinghelp.org. In New York, 1-877-8-OPEN-Y or text OPEN-Y. And in West Virginia, go to 1-800-GAMBLER.net. Now, Austin, one of my tasks for this offseason in my NFL stuff is making sure I'm properly accounting for rest in the NFL. I want to make sure I'm not over or under accounting for that kind of thing, because I think it does matter in the NFL. On the EPL side of things, we've got some teams with midweek matches coming up, Tuesday, Wednesday, stuff like that. Does that matter for you? Do you alter things when a team has a midweek match coming up or is coming off a midweek match, or is it pretty much a status quo?
It's mostly business as usual, but I think that's a really good question. One exception I would note is if a team is coming off a midweek match in their most recent game. So if a team plays Saturday, maybe just played Tuesday or Wednesday, and especially if it's a European match, one of the big differences in the Premier League or just any domestic league compared to our leagues here is there's almost no travel, really, because all the games are within the country. So one of the exceptions is when a team plays in a European game, maybe the game before, and then which actually is the case for Manchester City this weekend. They play Saturday, but they just played in Germany on Wednesday. So it's just really rare for there to be a situation where a team just had to travel that much, doesn't really have much practice time. So it typically results in them either like rotating the squad, maybe giving some guys a rest, so fielding a little bit worse of a lineup, or fielding the same lineup that could possibly be negatively impacted by that travel. But just in general, for the most part, it's not much of a factor, really, I don't think.
Yeah. So do you tend to be wary of teams coming off of a trip outside of the UK, or is a situation where the difference for you is not big enough where it's going to dramatically impact the way you view a team?
Most of the time, I would say it's not big enough for me.
Okay.
And some of it's situation-based. Man City this weekend have a lot to play for because they're in a title race. If there was a team that didn't have much to play for, which with the way they have promotion, relegation, top four and stuff, there aren't that many teams that don't have anything to play for. But if there was a team that didn't, maybe that I would downgrade them more significantly than I would other teams.
So let's talk about Man City, because it's been a while since we talked about them versus Arsenal. When we had you on, Man City was plus money. They're now minus 110, whereas Arsenal is at even money. When you look at the table right now, Austin, do you still think that Man City holds the edge here, or has anything shifted in your eyes since we last talked about the futures market here?
So I think the first time I came on a few weeks back, I said this should be a really fun market, and that's really been the case. It's really swung back both ways here in the past few weeks. I'm still on the side of Man City, but even though City won the recent head-to-head match with Arsenal, and Arsenal have dropped their levels in recent games, I still don't feel as good about this as I used to. Mm-hmm. But I'm still on City for two main reasons. The biggest of which is they're the better team. By FBref's expected goal differential, they're 9 goals better. They also have a friendlier schedule the rest of the way. Arsenal still have to play at Liverpool and at Newcastle, in addition to playing at City. Meanwhile, City get both Liverpool and Newcastle at home, as well as hosting that pivotal match with Arsenal. So everything I said the first time I came on still mostly holds true. I'm still giving the slight edge to Man City.
And that's the way the betting markets have it as well. So let's say you hadn't gotten in on Man City when they were plus money. You're looking at minus 110. Is that a bet for you, or is that a fair market where you're staying away?
I would say it's fair, and I'm staying away.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, especially knowing that you could have got them at a much better number previously. And if you've maybe lowered your thoughts on them a little bit, I think that it makes sense to stay away at minus 110. Okay, we got a 6-match slate coming up on Saturday. Let's start things off in the traditional market. It's awesome. Look at these EPL matches for Saturday specifically. Anything stand out to you as being of value right now?
So I'm going to keep the theme going and stick with Man City for the road match at Bournemouth. They're 340 to win, minus 340 to win, and I don't really want to mess with that number at all. But I think there's value in the correct score market, specifically with City to win 2-0 or 3-0, which were priced at plus 550 and plus 800. By FBref's expected goal differential, City are the best team in the Prem, and Bournemouth are the worst. And both teams hold that spot by some distance. Bournemouth are 5.8 XG worse than the second to last team, while City are 9 XG better than the second best team. Through the years, just in recent seasons, City have really dominated matches against these lesser teams. And that's mostly held true this season. In 5 matches against teams currently in the bottom 5 of the table, City have won the XG battle by a per-match average of 2.5 to 0.3. They've given up 0.2 XG or fewer in 3 of those 5 games. And then the first meeting with Bournemouth, City amassed 1.7 XG while holding the Cherries to 0.1, and the final score is 4-0. So I think City rolls again, and I like the prices on them at 2-0 and 3-0.
Right now, the numbers are talking about the 3-0 is plus 750, the 2-0 is plus 550. Do you have a preference between those two, Austin, if you were placing just one wager?
I think I would do the 3-0 at plus 800, but I really do like them both. I just think City have a lot to play for, obviously, with the title race with Arsenal, and they've really, really dominated the worst teams in the league this year, even if the bottom line results haven't always reflected that, which is kind of the case last weekend when they tied with Nottingham Forest. So I like them 3-0 at plus 800.
Yeah. So that's where we're looking for Man City right now in that matchup versus Bournemouth. Austin likes 3-0. That's currently plus 750 now at FanDuel Sportsbook. Slight preference for that over the plus 550 on the 2-0 correct score there. So that's a traditional market. Any player props you like on Saturday, Austin?
In the Leicester Arsenal game, I like James Maddison to be booked, which is priced at plus 400, I think. No, that's a funny term for us. He leads Leicester in yellow cards with 6, and he's been booked in 2 of his last 5 matches versus Big Six sides. He should have to be really active in the midfield against Arsenal, and he may find himself in some difficult situations, which could lead to a yellow card.
Right now, he's 4-1. Is that the price it was at when you were looking at it earlier on?
Yep. Yeah, plus
Okay.
400.
Okay. Do you like this market? Because I find this market fascinating. I've obviously never bet it, but it seems like a fun one to bet. What leads you to like? What's the thought process in like? Oh, I think this guy might get a card in this game.
So I'm usually looking at midfielders on teams who are a little overmatched, probably in the match, which is definitely the case that Madison's a midfielder for Leicester. They're going to be without the ball a lot, which means he's going to be doing a lot of running around, trying to make a lot of tackles in the middle of the field. And typically, the 2 most common ways to get a yellow card are either one really bad foul or just an accumulation of fouls.
Yeah.
So I think both of those are in play for him in this match. And he is actually more of an attack-minded player, so he's not very good at the defending stuff, so he could commit that one bad foul pretty much any time in the game.
I love that. That's the Leicester versus Arsenal matchup. Madison is 4-1 to be booked there. I think we need like a personal foul market in the NFL too. If we can like work on that. If we could bet personal fouls in the NFL, maybe bet holding. I don't know. You know, we'll workshop this. I want a similar market in the NFL at some point. Now, that's the Saturday matches.
I was just going to say, I'm sorry. I was just going to say it can be really fun because they can get a yellow card for just yelling at the official. It has nothing to do with the game, you know? So if you bet on a guy to get a yellow card and he's talking to the ref, you're kind of hoping that things get out of hand.
Like, I hope he does. Cross that line, baby. Cross that line. Give me that cash, you know? Just that's a fun little incentive to root for. Okay. That's the Saturday matches. Let's talk now about Sunday. Pretty big match here between Tottenham and Chelsea, and the markets here relatively even. Austin, where are you seeing value for this match at FanDuel Sportsbook?
So Chelsea have been a really tough team to figure out all year, maybe the toughest team in the league, and they've got a new manager. They added a bunch of players in the January transfer window, so they're still a work in progress. And the results have not been there. They've got just 1 win in their last 10 matches, which is just really terrible for a club of their size. But according to expected goals, they've kind of started to turn the corner. In that 10-game slide, they've lost the XG battle just 3 times, and 2 of those were matchups with Manchester City. Chelsea have been extremely unlucky, actually, going forward. They've scored just 3 goals over their previous 7 matches, despite having 11.3 expected goals in that time. So it's not all bad luck. Chelsea deserves some of the blame for the poor finishing, and they haven't really nailed down a striker who can consistently score goals for them. But with that said, they've got a ton of talent, and there's definitely been some bad luck at play. So I'm on them against Tottenham. I think Tottenham's defense might be the perfect remedy for Chelsea. Tottenham's conceded at least 1.0 expected goals in 9 of their last 11 matches. And they've been a little fortunate all year, kind of the opposite of Chelsea. They're 4th in the table, but 7th by expected goal differential. So I think this match is kind of a nice chance to buy low on Chelsea. They're 190 on the money line and plus 190, and then plus 106 in the tie no bet market. I like both of those, with my preference being Chelsea at plus 190 on the money line.
Yeah, that is for the money line where you are 90 minutes plus stoppage time. Chelsea plus 190 to win. They're plus 106 in the tie no bet market. For Austan, he said the preference is plus 190 on the money line there for Chelsea versus Tottenham, which is coming up on Sunday, which should be a fun match. And betting on regression, always a fun thing for sure. That is Austan Kas. Make sure you check him out on Twitter at Austan Kas. You can find his work, as mentioned, over at numberFire.com. He does some EPL DFS helpers. You want to play some DFS over on the EPL side of things as well. Austan, I appreciate the time. Good luck to you with EPL stuff for this weekend. Enjoy the matches, and we'll talk to you again here very soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jim.
All right, check out Austan Kas on Twitter at Austan Kas, and again, all of his work over at numberFire.com. Slowly getting me to understand the EPL, which is a work in progress for sure on my end. Now, we talked about NASCAR on yesterday's show, and I went through the markets and talked about some outrights I liked and a couple other things. And one thing we did not discuss was the top 10 market. And they put up odds at FanDuel Sportsbook last night. And there are a couple that I think are pretty good value. So I wanted to run through those very quickly here. Specifically, there are two that I like. And those two are Daniel Suarez at plus 270 and Michael McDowell at plus 650. And both these guys are getting love in my model for very similar reasons. And those reasons are they were pretty good on tracks that check similar boxes last year. And I say that very intentionally. The way that I'm saying that, it may sound odd, but it's because there's no really similar track to Fontana. You don't have tracks that have big top end speed that also feature a lot of tire fall off. So I'm looking at tracks that either that have one or the other. Tracks with a lot of speed or tracks that feature decent heavy or decent tire fall off. And at those tracks, both Suarez and McDowell finish inside the top 10, 4 to 7 races. So well above their implied marks there. And you can't just take that at face value. That's not gonna be the right way to play things. But when I look at what they did, they were also doing it pretty legitimately and doing it at faster tracks. McDowell, my big concern with him is that Front Row Motorsports is not the fastest team. They're not the most well-funded team. And that typically means at tracks like this, they're not going to hang. But last year being the first year in the next gen era, we actually did see McDowell run pretty well at similar tracks. At Pocono, which is big speed track, he finished top 10 there. Had a top 10 run at Darlington, top 10 in Charlotte, which I'm starting to put in the heavier tire fall off bucket based on what happened there in the spring race last year, the Coca-Cola 600. There's a lot more tire fall off in that one. So I thought McDowell really impressed in that arena, and it showed me that Front Row Motorsports is not a great team, but they're fast enough when they have a good driver to potentially get a top 10. And McDowell, near his peak age, drivers tend to peak around age 39. McDowell is creeping up around there. So he's hitting his peak, had a lot of top 10 runs last year. It's plus 650 for a reason, but I still think there's value in that. Now, he was 14-1 last night, and that was outrageous. His implied odds have doubled since then, which means that by my still being above the market now, it means I'm basically saying that first opening line was bad. I'm okay saying that personally. I've got his implied odds still above 13.3% at plus 650. So I think McDowell plus 650 for a top 10, a good bet to make right now. The other guy is Daniel Suarez, again, plus 270. I talked about him yesterday, and I talked about liking him at plus 170. So clearly I got a bad number, and that sucks. It's never fun to get a bad number when you're betting, because I could have gotten something better if I had patience, waited till FanDuel opened, and gotten this plus 270. But the thought process for Suarez that led to the plus 170 love is still there at plus 270. He finished fourth in this race last year. Kind of fluky because there was a lot of chaos towards the end of that race. So I don't care that he finished there, and my model doesn't know that he finished there. It doesn't factor in finishing position. So it doesn't know that he finished there. Still, he had some other good runs last year. He had a really good car in Michigan. Didn't finish well in that race, but had a fast car there. Had a pretty fast car in Charlotte as well, which again did feature more tire fall off last year. Had some decent runs elsewhere at tracks with tire fall off. So I'm not like the biggest Daniel Suarez guy in terms of like talent, but I think Trackhouse Racing has very good equipment. I think that Suarez showed last year is good enough to take advantage of that equipment in the right spots. So I think plus 270, a very fair number for. I should value plus 170, and they opened plus 270. I got a bad number. That could mean that my model is too high on Suarez, which is very possible. It's early in the year. That can always be wrong for sure. But I know the thought process that leads me to being there, and I'm okay buying into that thought process with Suarez. So to me, plus 270, disappointing that I didn't get the best number, but still, I think a good number for Suarez, one that I like and one that I'm willing to bet. So Daniel Suarez plus 650, plus 270, the other place I want to go for top 10 bets in NASCAR. I'm not sure if FanDuel will keep the same cadence as far as when they release top 10 bets. They came out late Thursday night. If they keep that cadence, I'll probably have to move the NASCAR discussion to be on the Friday shows because I don't want to talk about it twice necessarily, but I do want to get the top 10 bets in there. They tend to be pretty good ones. FanDuel's hold on top 10 bets is much lower than what you have in a lot of other books. So I want to squeeze this in. Maybe we'll talk outrights Thursday, top 10s Friday if they keep the same order of releasing, but we'll figure things out as they go along. As we further in the season, I'll probably keep it on Thursdays primarily, but if top 10 bets get posted later on, we can circle back and talk about those on Friday as well. That is all that we have here for today on Covering the Spread. Want to give a big thank you once again to Austan Kas for swinging by, talking about the English Premier League for you this week. Find Austan on Twitter at Austan Kas and check out his work over at numberFire.com. I'm on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JIMSANNES. Do not forget to subscribe to Covering the Spread to get these shows as they go live each and every weekday. Big week next week with Brandon and Ed back. We'll talk to them about some PGA and some college basketball to get you ready for what should be a fun next couple of months in the sporting world. We'll talk to you all once again Monday. Have a fantastic weekend. This has been Covering the Spread right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network.